Okay, I'm going to have a look at some exercises now that I want you to perform in the lead up to when you come back, probably 4 to 6 weeks away now, when you come back into the gym with myself or any other strength conditioning coaches you'll be working with, obviously when you're doing your fitness sessions out on the pitches or in the halls with your coaches and with ourselves as well. The importance of doing these exercises for me is really important because it doesn't matter, some of you may well have been doing loads of work across the summer already. It doesn't matter to me how fit you are, how strong you are, how powerful you are. If we go into the season and you break down with an injury because you've got muscle imbalances, you've got weaknesses in certain muscle areas. For instance, if you're weak around your ankle and your calf's weak, you're at high risk of twisting your ankle sprains, ligament sprains around there, which can put you out for 6 to 8 weeks, which can pretty much see you through till Christmas and you'll get back fit after. So I'm going to look at these areas, calf, looking at stabilisation around the knee joint, looking at around the hip as well and strengthening up through your glutes, and looking at some core exercises as well. If you can carry on with these a couple times a week, put it into a circuit before or after your training session, or if you're doing a strength exercise, you might do a dumbbell press for example, you might do a core exercise in between or one of the balance exercises in between, that'd be fantastic. So when we come back in end of September, sort of as we get into the season starting through October, we can really look to get you doing some strength exercises, get you doing some power exercises, so we can really look to improve your performance. Okay, first exercise, doing an overhead squat. Start with your feet hip width apart, slightly wider if you need to. Keep your feet nice and straight if you can. Lift your chest up and bar straight above your head. Looking to try and keep the bar above the crown of your head during the exercise. Hold the bar, don't have to be a bar, just a wooden pole's fine, or just a skipping rope or anything like that, just to hold your hand up above your head. And from there, nice and controlled down, looking to get your hip lower than your knee and then back up. Okay, next exercise is going to be an exercise for your lower leg, so looking at your calf, sort of Achilles tendon area. It's going to be a calf raise. You set yourself up with a sort of a plinth, ball of your foot onto the edge of the plinth, and put one finger each side, about sort of head height. From this position here, lower your ankle down, low as you can, and squeeze up, nice and controlled. 1 second up. 1 second down. Okay, next exercise is going to be a single-legged squat. Real good stability around your ankle and knee. Also looking around your hip joints. Real good exercise for your glutes. Stand on one leg. When you start the movement, think about pushing your hips backwards at the same time as you bend your knee. So you're not feeling loads of knee flexion, loads of knee movement. Focus on an exercise coming from your hip, being a nice hip dominant movement so you can get your glutes working. Okay, you can use a 5 kilo plate, which I've got in my hands now because you can't balance to start with. Looking for your hips to drop lower than your knee, same as on a normal barbell squat or back squat. So hands out in front, single legged. This exercise is going to be a split squat. One foot out in front, facing forward, second foot on all of your foot back. Okay. Make sure your weight's distributed through the heel of your front foot. Lift your chest up, and you're just going to lower your back knee down to the floor and back up. So be nice and controlled. Down and up. Try and make it a down and up movement rather than a forwards and back. Okay, so focus on this knee not going too far over your toe at all. So dropping down and back up. Okay, what I want you to do is set a good position with your hip. Okay, so at the moment, natural hip position is going to be in here, and you can rotate that one backwards and also forwards. Backwards and forwards. When you set yourself up in this exercise, I want you to pull your hips down, pull your glutes underneath and set yourself in that position. Okay? When you're doing the exercise, that will lengthen up through your hip and thigh, and we get a real nice stretch up through this area. A lot of the players we work with, hockey, rugby, football, American football players are really tight around this area. So it's really important when you're doing these exercises, lengthening out through here, which is what the exercise is designed to do. Get a real good stretch up in here, so when I set myself up in this position, lift my chest up, and pull my hips underneath. You should be able to see that rock of the pelvis underneath to there. Keep my chest up, and nice and controlled. Lower down and up. So I feel a real good stretch all the way through my thigh and through my hip. It's a really important exercise. If you find that okay, look to raise your back leg. Just pop your back leg onto the step. Pop your front foot forwards. Exactly the same again. or rotate your hips down underneath, keep your chest up, drop down, all the way to the floor, and up. Finding either of those exercises easy again, you can lift your arms up straight, drop down, and up. Really create some range up and around the hip. It's going to be exercise for your glutes. Glute bridge, feet flat on the floor, lay yourself flat, hands can go by your sides to start with. From the bottom of the movement, I want you to think about squeezing through your glutes. Okay, so squeeze your glutes from the start of the movement, and from there you're squeezing up, pushing up, hold for a couple of seconds at the top, and then back down. Okay, important things to think about during this movement, okay, is once you get to the top, I really want you to think about squeezing your glutes as hard as you can, and with your hip, that should almost be pointed up and backwards, okay, it's not straight up. Really want you to squeeze. When you get to this point here, I want you to keep squeezing up, so big squeeze and push. Think about driving your hips up into that direction there, up in that way. Okay, big squeeze, glutes should be nice and hard at this point. Hold for a couple of seconds, back down, don't need to touch the floor again, but as soon as you're down, squeeze through your glutes again, up you go, big squeeze and hold, 2 or 3 seconds, and back down. Okay, if you find that your hamstrings are working during that exercise, then what you should do is just go up to the top and then come straight back down. Okay, because your hamstrings are kicking in when your glutes should be working. You want to make sure the exercise is a glute-dominated exercise. Okay, so if you feel your hamstrings working, we just regress it backwards. So I just want you to hold it at the top for a second, then straight back down instead of 2 or 3 seconds. Okay, if you get into 10 or 12 reps and you're finding that's quite comfortable, look to increase the load of the exercise. So this is a 10 kilogram power bag. I'm going to use it, cross my hips in there, start at the bottom, squeeze through your glutes, up, exactly the same, big push, really focusing on pushing your hips all the way up, big squeeze and back down. Okay, big squeeze to the top, 1, 2, and then back down. Lay yourself flat, and if you think back to the split squat in the hip position, I want you to think about that again. So when you do this movement, so the actual exercise, it's going to be a couple of different variations. To start with, you can lift your knees up to there, right angles at your knees here, right angles at your hip here, hands up straight. You can start off with opposite arm and opposite leg, just lower and down, nice and controlled, back in, and then opposite side. And then you can progress that into both at the same time. And then you can make that a little bit harder, adding some load, adding some weight onto it. Back in. Okay, so that's your exercise. When you're doing it, you need to set your pelvis into the correct position to start with. So if you have a look at my lower back when I do the exercise here, what I often find is that as you do the exercise, if you have a look at my back position now, as your legs go out, you get a massive arch in the lower back area. Okay? What I want you to focus on is rotating your hips backwards. Okay, so you're lowering that arch back into the floor. Rotate all the way up, rotate all the way to the bottom, and just relax into the middle. So you should have the lower back touching the floor slightly. And when you do the movement, you need to try and maintain that back position. Okay, which makes it a lot harder, makes it a lot more activation through the lower area of your core, takes it away from your lower back area.
Okay.
Okay, nice simple core exercise. Should have all done it before. The front plank. Position you're going to get into, elbows directly underneath your shoulders, hands out in front and on your toes, keep your torso nice and flat, nice flat position between your ankles, hips and knees. When you do the exercise, I want you to think about being in that pelvic position we just looked at in a couple of exercises before. So rather than being rotated that way, where your lower back's going to be taking all of the work, the muscles in there are going to become really tight and overactive, which is what we don't want. You need to rotate your hips, so you should be able to see this now. Rotating your hip position in there, which will put a lot more work, which is a lot harder, a lot more work into your core. Once you set into that position, you can hold, working up to a minute, minute and a half. If you're finding that easy, you can put some slides in, so you can slide forwards and back, trying to maintain that position. If you're finding that easy, you can bring your elbows slightly further forwards, which is a lot harder, and then go into those slides again. Okay? The main thing about the exercise is make sure you're not in that position there, where your lower back's going to be doing all the work. Make sure you rotate underneath, put the emphasis of the work into your core. Okay, so we're going to have a look at a couple of rotational core exercises. First one's going to be a Russian twist, so on your back, shoulders on the floor on the mat, hands out flat, palms facing up, legs going to be straight up in the air. Nice simple movement, going to rock from one side down to the other, using your obliques and then through your core to pull you back across. Keeping your hands up all times, and also keeping your whole arm and lower back flat against the mat. If you can't go very far without them coming up, just work to that range and then come back across. If you find you're struggling, you get to sort of this position, and your arm's starting to come up, just holding that position and then come back to the middle, and the same on the other side. And let's gradually increase as we go. Second exercise, Russian medical rotation. Nice simple exercise, but what I want you to do is try and keep your feet nice and still when you're doing it. So lift your feet up, rotate from one side to the other. Keeping your feet nice and still. So a lot of the time you see people doing it, loads of rotation in, loads of movement at the feet. You want to keep your feet nice and still. We'll rotate across, across,